Guys, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com. My friend Cody Nelson of 20 plus years. He's the optics manager over there. If you guys need any optical needs at all, anything to do with glassing, binoculars, tripods, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call. 602-399-3699. That is his cell phone. You can also text him at that number. You can also call him at GoHunt at 702-847-8747. I want to thank GoHunt Optics for their sponsorship of the podcast. Guys, I also want to let you know that GoHunt maps have been released and they are right now available to insider members. I have had an intimate role in this GoHunt mapping process of getting these maps just how we need them. They are awesome for Western hunters. GoHunt Maps is built for Western hunters. GoHunt's first focus has always been creating solutions for hunters like us to make them as successful as possible, both for themselves and for the advancement of conservation. With the launch of GoHunt Maps app, Western hunters are empowered to meet their needs all in one platform, discovering hunts with filtering 2.0 and draw odds, and preparing with expertise and gear, and now take maps into the field. Guys, I've had an intimate role in helping develop the app, and I think you're really going to like it. Make sure you're an insider member, so go to gohunt.com/JScott and sign up for an insider membership if you're not already an insider. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That is the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. To find out more, you can go to KUIU.com. It's a direct-to-consumer company. You can order all of the products directly off the website. That's the only place you can get it. Go to KUIU.com. PhoneScope is the adapter I use to take videos and photos right from my iPhone 12 Pro right through my spotting scope or binoculars. Go to phonescope.com, use the JScott21 promo code, and you're going to get a 10% discount. Guys, let's get right to the episode. Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I've got my friend Brendan Burns, the Chief Hunting Officer at KUIU. Brendan, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How's it going? Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast here, getting a general catch up with you, and going to talk a bunch of different stuff here. I want to talk to you about Conservation Direct. I want to ask you some questions about Canada being shut down due to COVID. Talk a little KUIU updates, some new product stuff. But before we get into that, what's been going on? How are you?
Doing well, man. That's kind of like everybody, just excited that the world is opening back up. I've actually been, had a little bit of travel here and there, which is kind of funny, after so much travel in the past, 4 or 5 years or whatever, and then to go to no travel, and then it's like a plane once a month. It's like, oh, whoa, big travel guy, so it's kind of nice things are opening back up, and I think like everybody else, just nice to see things getting back to normal.
Yeah, I was curious, Montana-wise, I spent some time, obviously, in Arizona, and I was in California, now I'm in Idaho. Montana, through the whole COVID thing, was it kind of regional throughout the state where there was mask mandates and all that kind of stuff, or was it pretty uniform all across the state, grocery stores, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, for a while it was pretty intense, and everybody had to wear a mask, and it was, I would say it was seemed a bit over the top considering the number of cases, and kind of like everybody else, I'm not a big socializer anyway, so I didn't, I just kind of the normal stuff we would do, we kind of just didn't do, and ate more at home, and like I said, I don't live in an apartment complex or anything, so I don't normally see people at my house, and I've got my own archery range and stuff, so I kind of pretty self-sufficient, but it was, I think like everywhere for a while, and then there was some pushback, and I think some of the larger, I wouldn't call them, let's not call Bozeman, Missoula metropolitan areas, but like places like Billings, and I would say up Kalispell and those areas kind of opened up first, and Bozeman and Missoula probably were the most restricted, I would say, but we got back fairly quickly to where it was, semi-normal, and restaurants were getting open, and obviously the governor dropped the entire mask mandate. My kids were in school the entire time, which I was super grateful for. Like, my kids never missed a day of school during the entire thing. I mean, they were off last year, from March after spring break, they were off, but this year they went to school every day, which was amazing. So, I think it's nice to be in a place that was we would just have a far less population, and we were, it wasn't overwhelming and super restrictive. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not a huge socializer. The no restaurants, restaurants being shut down was just more inconvenient on some of the stuff for sure.
Sure. I mean, with KUIU being based out of California, I'm sure that I think until the 15th of June, California is still, I think, one of the last states, fairly pretty much on lockdown. As far as the customer showroom and such there at KUIU, I would assume that, I don't know, but I would assume it was also shut down and not available to the public, or what's going on with that?
For quite a bit of time. And to be honest, I haven't been to California in over a year. And I honestly can't think of the next time I'll go there. I mean, we have remote work kind of figured out, especially in my role. And we have quite a bit of people that work remotely. So it's not been, I would say we were very, very accustomed to working, by Zoom or Teams calls and all that stuff. And, especially, a lot of the overseas stuff, so it kind of didn't miss a beat company wise. I didn't handle any of that stuff in California. I honestly can't even comment because I haven't been down there since I wasn't there during the entire year of 2020.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, you bring up a good point, and I think it's interesting. I think people in general, but companies and how to conduct business, people have kind of adapted to this new style, and I think it's going to be real interesting to me over the next handful of years to see how some of the different companies are able to transition either back to the way it was, or maybe not even go back to having lots of people in the office and that type of thing. Just curious what your thoughts are, not only with KUIU and other companies and brands that you're familiar with, and just your general business knowledge. What are your thoughts on the way that companies conduct business and what may change?
Well, I've worked remotely since 2009. I mean, Jason hired me in I guess it would be in September of 2010. And so I've worked remotely for over a decade. So I was super adapted to it. And I think a lot of people that work with us are, and just, I think it's definitely new. I mean, there are definitely things where you need to be in person. I believe nothing that I personally do, but I think it's going to change everything. I mean, I don't think these massive office complexes and people living there, I think it's proven, people can get a lot of work done at home, maybe more, probably quality of life's better. I mean, when you look at places where the cost of real estate, or places that are super expensive to live, whether it be in the cities and stuff, I think it's going to change everything. Obviously I'm not I've been doing it for a long time. So it was actually funny to see people that had never worked remotely kind of starting to get into it. I mean, right off the bat, I definitely sent a few people emails and be like, hey man, a 2-man Zoom call is called a phone call. You don't have to send me an invite, just pick up the phone and call me. It's not that big of a deal. And you don't have to, nobody's watching you or anything, just get your work. It was kind of interesting to see, but I think a lot of people, and I think probably efficiency went up. I mean, you look at, driving into an office and taking lunch off and stuff. I mean, I don't know, like I said, I've always found it better to work that way. I think it's going to change everything. I think, commercial office real estate type stuff is it's disrupts thing. And I think people they can live where they want to. I mean, for example, again, when I started at KUIU, they were, I was there was amped about the job, took it immediately, but it was I'm never moving to California like that. And he knew that, it was just that's not an option, and we'll make it work. However, obviously you wouldn't, but it just wasn't an option. I think that's going to be a way for a lot of people. And, I think just a higher quality of life, and, I mean, things change. I mean, think about the cell phone. I mean, that was a weird thing. Everybody was tied to a landline, and then all of a sudden everybody got a cell phone, and now, you can conduct business most of the time by yourself. Well, that's a 20-year change that has reshaped how we do business. So it's going to be interesting to see. I agree. I don't know the answer to it, but it's definitely going to be different.
For sure. Brendan, last hunting season, let's call it the COVID season. Tell us about how your fall went, elk hunting, bear hunting, whatever you were doing. How I assume you had to stay a little closer to home. How did your season go last year?
Season was awesome. I was super fortunate in the fact that I've been applying for a Go Tag for 29 years. One that I should have drawn a long time ago, and finally drew it last year. So it was like right by my house, which was great. I spent 20 days scouting and 16 days hunting. It was phenomenal. So I did not go sheep hunt last year. I had a hunt in Canada booked last year and wasn't able to go. Got postponed. So I made up for it by had a mountain goat here in Montana. I also drew an Area 7 tag in Wyoming for elk, so I cashed in, 2 sets of points. I mean, a couple really good tags in a year where everybody's close, so that was awesome. I had a tremendous goat hunt in a Peloton, a really, really big billy that I've been watching since early August, and it was a really tough hunt. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot. I didn't think it was going to be easier, but I thought I would have an opportunity to get it done faster than I did. But 20 days of scout and then 16 days of hunting, spent about 18 days in a tent, and finally, just one of those hunts where you just kind of zigged and zagged, and nothing went right for me, and just had to just keep grinding. And I ended up arrowing a great big billy I've been watching all year, which ended up awesome, and finally caught him in the right spot at snuck into 10 yards and arrowed this big horse-headed 10-year-old awesome billy that hunt that I've been dreaming about since I was a kid. It was just an awesome hunt. Like,
was it a function of like he wasn't in the right spot, or there were some days you didn't see him, or it was across the valley? Or tell us like some of the struggles that you went through on that.
A couple of things. It was definitely some pilot error. I mean, I made some bad moves. I mean, I stalked them. Generally after their second bed of the day, like they should be there, and I'd go move around on this guy, and it was big steep areas, lots more timber than you typically think of where goats live. Where I caught these big billies was really a lot of timber and pretty isolated, like pretty tough stuff to get into, and it was basically 3.5 hours around on every stalk. And there was just a couple times, and I wasn't willing to blow them out looking for them. Like, okay, they're there, so you go 3.5 hours all the way around, and you move in on where they were bedded. And and it's such steep stuff that even if they moved 100 yards, if you were across, and I didn't have anybody flagging for me, like I hunted mostly with Matt Forsyth was with me filming and photographing, but I didn't have anybody back that could flag me, which I would have got it done earlier had I had that. But it was just tough hunting, and bad wind. Just had some weird canyons with bad wind. A couple times got over, and 3.5 hour stalk. He's not in the bed. I put him in, and you sit there for a while. He's not there, and then you go back all the way around because we're going to try and relocate him. And he's 75 yards, just a little down and a little left, and it was just like, yeah, I probably could have eased down to find him, but didn't. And again, I really had 2 great big billies that I was gonna kill the billy with my bow. Like, I mean, I guess late in the year I would have switched to a gun if I absolutely had to, but it would have been an epic fail on my part, like for me personally. So I just was taking it slow. I wanted to have a really good opportunity when I did get on one with a bow. So I I was being fairly cautious, and I just didn't catch him in the right spot. And like I said, I put on a lot of miles. I hunted really hard, lost a bunch of weight, wore a pair of boots out. Like it's just a tough area. And especially, until you've hunted goats, it's like there's areas that have lots of nannies and kids, and there's young billies, which are not that smart. But the couple goats that I were hunting, they'd obviously seen their buddies killed off in years past, and they were just crazy spooky, like way spookier than I thought they were. The area I drew had 34 permits, so it wasn't like I was the only dude hunting. I never saw another hunter because I was hunting some really remote stuff that was really rugged. But the reason that they were there is they had been pushed there in years past, and they were smart. I mean, they were really smart. Like, but then I just kept after it. It's just one of those hunts that just kicks your ass, and you just got to keep going and keep after it and just stick to what you're doing. I never took, never even got, in my mind that I would have to switch to a ride. I was just like, it's going to happen. And then, on like October 10th, I was glassing, I was about 5 miles away, and I knew it was the billy I'd been after. I glassed him up in a spot I had seen him before, and I actually on a little bench where I had actually camped one night, and he was bedded there with another billy, and I was like, oh, well, he's there. And it took me about 4 or 5 hours to get over to him. And once I caught him in the right spot, slid right up on him, there was 2 billies bedded together. One of them was a giant that I was after, and one of them was a really nice billy. And after 16 days, I slid over this little ridge. I was 10 yards away. Wind was really really going in my face good. And I peeked up 3 times, And every time I peeked up, he was looking the other way. And finally, I was just like, I backed off, and I was like, and I was pretty sure it was the big one, but I was not 100% sure. I was just like, you know what? It's been a long season. They're both nice billies. I kind of talked myself into, like, I was pretty sure it was him, but in reality, I was, let's call it 50-50. And I was like, if I peek up one more time, he's going to bust me. And I was just like, I knew what was going to happen. I was like, I'm just going to draw and walk over the top and shoot him. And I think it's him, but it might not be. And the other, like, but this is probably my chance right here to arrow a goat. I was pretty sure. Anyways, I walked, I finally got the full draw and walked over on him and thumped him at 10 yards, and he rolled a long ways down. He died probably within 10 seconds. He just, kind of tripped going out of sight and then shot down the chute and pinballed through the timber. It was really steep. It took me like 10 minutes to find him, and I'm walking down there. I'm like, oh, I hope it's the right one. I hope it's the right one. I knew the other one was a nice solid billy, but the one was a giant. And even when I shot him at close range, I could not tell if it was him or not, because he ended up breaking his off shoulder, and he rolled over and then just shot down the chute. And anyways, got down to him, and it was such a relief. Like, when I finally found him, he was lodged under a log and had taken like a 50-foot drop, and got down to him, and I could see right away. I was like, oh, it's the big one. So it all ended well, but I wasn't 100% sure until I actually put my hands on him. And so that was a really, long rambling on about it. But that was the goat hunt. It was, I've been dreaming about it since I was 12 years old when I first started applying, and, to wait until you're 43 to get, I guess 42 to go get that tag. And it was just one of those bucket list things that I wanted to do, and kill it. I wanted to kill it, and great big billy. And it was just, everything I hoped it would be, but definitely not an easy hunt. I was thrilled with that.
Now, how many mountain goats have you killed in your life?
Two with a bow, one in the Chugach and then one here. Those are only two I've hunted. So
now in Montana, is that one and done? You're done now?
7-year wait.
Okay.
7-year wait. Yep. But in reality, like I said, I was 0 for 28 on 1 in 10 odds. Like, I had actually really horrible luck. Like, the odds were not that bad. I've had between 1 in 4 and 1 in 10 odds for 28 years and never drawn. So it's like really bad luck. And I'm not going to complain about luck, because I drew a sheep tag, which, is, I've had more than my fair share of good luck, but I just didn't have great luck in drawing that tag. So, but it was a hard hunt, and like, 7-year wait isn't going to bum me out. Like, I wouldn't do 2 of those in a row. So
how did that shape? It kind of took a bunch of time out of your elk season, didn't it?
So, well, I drew Area 7 in Wyoming, and I did not hunt elk in Montana last year, as it turned out. So I had a moose hunt in Alaska, with Lance, and then I drew Area 7 in Wyoming. So I spent 20 days scouting. I spent about 5 days hunting early for goat, which started September 1st. Didn't get it done. And then I went to Wyoming and spent 10 days in Wyoming. I killed a bull that's 359 in Wyoming. But it was tough hunting as well. It was the biggest temperature swing I've ever hunted in. Like, I can't remember what day it was, but about 7 days in or 8 days in, it was 93 degrees at 4:00 in the afternoon, and there was little rut activity. We'd seen a few bulls. I was hunting with AJ Kissel and Dax McCarty at Wagon Hound. A couple days, like, we went down there and hunted on the Wagon Hound Ranch, which was phenomenal. I've known Dax for probably 20 years, and he just said, "Hey, come on down when you do draw." And so it was great. And it was like 93 degrees at 4:00 p.m. I don't know if it was on the 8th or 9th or 7th or one of those days. And the next morning it was 21 degrees with 16 inches of snow blowing sideways. It was the biggest temperature swing I'd ever hunted through. And we went out that day. So we just had some horrible conditions. They weren't bugling at all. And I finally ended up spotting up a big bull, like a mule deer, just bedded with a couple other bulls. The biggest bull I saw in the entire hunt. Got lucky and, snuck up on him, just spotting stock, and shot him at 50 yards. And the nicest bull I saw in the area. So I was lucky to get a bull that big, and again, just right place at the right time.
Were you crunching in the snow walking up to him, or was it still fluffy?
It was pretty crunchy, and I actually picked a route where I didn't have to get on him, and I've got a little video of it, but it was a pretty tough stock. I really took it slow, and actually made a weird hit on him, like thought I smoked him and made a weird hit on him, and left him, left him overnight. And then AJ and I went back in there the next day just to look, to hopefully we could find him, and picked up some blood, and I got to give a shout out to my buddy AJ Kissel. The guy is a hound dog. He blood trailed it for over a mile, like a drop at a time, mixed snow a little bit here and there, and picking the tracks where he went. Like, it was an unbelievable trailing job. And we had actually given up. Like, we're like, man, I don't know. We got to a place we couldn't figure out where he went, and we, started doing circles, and got up on a high point, and weirdest thing, we're like, oh, it's just glass, maybe we can see some birds, which has never worked out once in my life. And got up on this point, and AJ's like, there's a crow, and he's like, man, there's another crow just flew out of that area over there, and it was in some timber. We started watching it, and then there was a crow sitting in a tree, and then there's one came flying through. It was like, man, what are the odds that that's my elk? This is way over a mile from where I shot him. And I was like, well, I'm going to walk down there. You never know. And he's like, yeah, well, let's go check it out. Maybe we can circle up. And walked right to where the crow was, and there's my elk laying there dead. Not bloated, nothing. Just like boom, just like he had not died that long ago. And he went like 1.4 miles, and
Where did your hit end up being?
It was quartered. I thought I hit him quartered, like steep quartered, and it looked really good. He actually went and laid down in like 50 yards, and then we backed out. Like, I was like, oh, he's going to be dead. And then he got up and walked off. And what I had actually hit him is further. I had hit him right in the seam line in the ham, and went all the way up through him. And it just took a long time for him to die. Like, I missed some of the really good stuff. I even when we dissected him, I was like, I cannot believe that bull went that far, but I didn't quite get the good stuff. And just goes to show you got to look there. I mean, they have such I always say the same thing about elk, is like, I've shot a lot of stuff, brown bears, moose, all this kind of stuff.
They're unreal, aren't they?
Elk have the strongest will to live of any big game animal I've ever hunted, hands down. Like, there's nothing that compares to them. They are freaking tough. They're just tough. So
they're hardy for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. So I was actually thrilled to get out of there with a really nice bull. Had a lot of good luck with that. And then, at the end of the month, I went home, hunted goats all the way through that, still didn't kill one. And then, Lance had called me. They were like 14 for 14 on moose. And we've kind of had this thing where, like, hey, we hunt together every year whenever we can. This life gets in the way. You try, like, if anything comes up on, not even short notice, just like, hey, you can come up the last few days, whatever. He called me, and Matt Forsyth flew up there on the 25th of September with 5 days left, and went moose hunted with freelance. And on the last day of the season there, I ended up shooting just a really big, awesome moose. And we'll have a film coming out here pretty quick with it, but I kill a really beautiful moose on camera. Lance and Shane called it right into me, and just awesome, like, great moose footage, and big, heavy old bull, and thumped him. So, like, yeah, I mean, it was just a long season. I basically hunted every single day, hunted or scouted from July, or from about July 25th until the 20th or 15th of August, or 15th of October, sorry. And then, but yeah, had a great fall, long story short. So
Lance is one of a kind, isn't he?
Yeah, it's great. And like I said, it was just a cool thing. They had an awesome season. He's just like, hey, if you can get up here, and the travel had just opened up, so it was like the COVID testing wasn't quite as strict, and so yeah, we did COVID tests and rolled up there, and just like, hey, whatever happens the last 5 days of the season, we'll see. And it turned out to be really good. Yeah, it was just great. No complaints.
Fantastic. Brendan, you also, Conservation Direct is a project that you oversee, and you're kind of in charge of and the head of. Looks like you guys about a week or maybe 2 weeks ago just had your latest Conservation Direct project.
Yeah, it was we were talking about the COVID stuff. So I think I had told your listeners and stuff, like, we have a couple of huge projects that got pushed last year, and I still can't really talk about them until we get them, until they're totally finalized, and I know when they're going to go about, and that's when we'll get the customers involved. But last year was just a bummer on so many levels. But one of them was, like, we have a couple really awesome projects that are just, like, right down the Conservation Direct is this company and customer funded projects, start to finish. And we have a couple that are coming up, which we'll be doing in 2021 that we were going to do in fall of 20, which you and I have talked about. But I'm just going to keep them quiet. But they are coming. And just like most things, just everything got canceled. I mean, just got put on hold, and nothing got put on hold more than state agencies and stuff like that. I mean, they were probably the most restricted. So there was no helicopters with 2 people together. There was no, getting people together to help out, whether it's a transplant or something like that. There was just, it basically like that all stopped for a year. So, conservation is kind of like actually the conservation direct, like it's kind of like a muscle, like it's just, you got to use it. And so, a couple months ago, I was just looking for a project just to do something in 2021, just get everything working again, and just put one together and do it. And I ended up getting a hold of Jack Robb at the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and he's like, "Oh, we have this guzzler that you guys could do," and I can't remember if somebody gave it back, or I don't know what it was. They usually have a sponsor for these guzzlers, so we we gave the large donation to this guzzler and partnered up with the Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn in Nevada, which is just a really, really cool organization that's been around for, close to like 40 plus years, and just awesome. And so we built we were part of building the first ever guzzler in the San Antonio Mountains, which is down by Tonopah. And it was a really cool project. It was done on this guy, so it was a really cool project to go be a part of. And we went down, and it was amazing. And in a day and a half, built this. Basically there was like 50 volunteers that showed up from Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn, and we brought 6 of us went down there. TJ Sanchez, Jason Radakovich, Kevin Wilkie, Kevin Wilkerson, Matt Forsyth, and myself flew down there. And it was amazing to see these guys put this guzzler together. And they put us to work. This was not a photo session or one of those things where you show up and get patted on the back for doing. They dropped us in with a helicopter with all the other, there was 46 volunteers, and these guys have it's this assembly line. They just have it figured out. Somebody's in charge here, and we just put us to work, and we built a giant apron and a tube that connects to these, to these big catch tanks and the actual guzzler where the sheep go in, and a fence around it to protect it from wild horses. And it was an awesome project. And if anybody ever has a chance to go do one of those in Nevada, I would highly suggest it. It's pretty amazing. It's the first one I've ever done, and it was just a cool project to kind of get the blood flowing again, and get some obviously money donated towards conservation and some work towards that, but just basically to kind of just get back into action. I think it was the first one they've done in a little while too, so it was just a really cool project. And we do have some other really big projects coming up that as soon as we know they're going to go, I will announce them. And it's like I said, it's bummed me out. I guarantee more than anybody else that, we had some big plans last year right after the sheep transplant to do it. It's just everything, just like everything ground to a halt. And so it's nice to see everything getting rolling again.
Let me back up just a second. Conservation Direct is basically a dream of yours to be able to see a need and fill a need without anything in between. It's basically, how can you have the vision to partner with people to find a need that needs, something that needs to be done for the benefit of wildlife, and how can you literally just say, how do we make it happen? That's what Conservation Direct is, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's something I came up with. It's a play on terms. We're a consumer direct brand, meaning we cut out the middleman. We take you directly from the source, we build it, and we sell it, and there's no middleman. And there's a lot of, and again, I'm not saying anything bad about conservation organizations. A lot of them do great things, but for us, like a direct connection with our customer, we did a sheep transplant, design the sheep transplant, paid for everything, and then implement it. It's our conservation wing at KUIU. So Conservation Direct is basically pick a project, fund a project, finish it, and go on to another project. It's single project, KUIU company and customer funded, single project conservation projects. And there's a couple things that are like in the ethos of Conservation Direct, which is it has to promote or protect or create a hunting opportunity. Like, we don't do conservation stuff that doesn't have anything to do with hunting. We're a hunting brand, so
it's not preservation, it's conservation.
No, we're not doing, not that we don't care about dolphins and manatees and stuff like that. That's not our thing. Like these are mostly sheep projects. That's what we identify as the brand. But these are conservation projects that promote or protect or create hunting opportunities. And they're like, again, we're not trying to solve. I think with a lot of conservation, it's like this huge broad thing of, hey, we're going to try and save sheep. It's like, man, that's such a huge undertaking to do that. Like, we're going to pick a couple projects that are going to make a small difference in how sheep, whether it's a new population, which we created 3 new populations in the West last year. Like that's not solving all the problems, but it's a nice step forward, and it's actually doing something. Like Conservation Direct is not an awareness wing. Like, awareness, there's plenty of awareness out there. This is an action-based conservation, basically wing of KUIU. So that's what it is. So, and it's company and customer funded. Like this project right here, 50% of the money from this guzzler came from people who bought our Stay Wild conservation shirts on the website. So the money when you buy one, we have a new conservation shirt coming out. All the money that comes from that, which is like 100% goes to Conservation Direct, and the people that buy those shirts, their money was used to pay for the infrastructure, the products, and all the stuff that went into the guzzler. Same thing and then half of it was paid by KUIU. So it's company and customer funded conservation directly from KUIU.
Brendan, if there's people out there listening that either have a need and think they have a project that you might be interested in a funding standpoint, or B, if there's people out there listening that want to absolutely be on the list to be notified when you have these new projects coming out, what do they do?
So if you go to conservationdirect.com, or you can go to our website to KUIU.com, and it's under Conservation Direct. It's under our story, I believe. There's a place where you can sign up. And as soon as the next project, like this project, I didn't reach out to anybody. We were limited on the number of people we could take. There's all the COVID stuff and whatever. So this one was just a funding issue. We wanted to get down there and put some boots on the ground and help out. The next project will be company and customer funded and driven from a company standpoint. So if you sign up at Conservation Direct, we have you in the database, and the next one coming up is going to be will be customer participation and funded for sure. And again, I wish I could tell you about it right now, but until it's finalized and we know the dates, I'm not going to get anybody wired up, because I just, with stuff canceling and stuff, I just don't even want to go there. But it's something really cool in the works. Obviously, Jay, about it. It's going to be pretty cool. So, you can sign up at Conservation Direct, and that's to either be a volunteer or if you want to be a donor. Like
or
I said,
both.
or both. Yeah, because like on the sheep transplant we did to Antelope Island and the 2 to North Dakota, basically the total was 127,000, a little less than 127,000. 50% of that came from customers' donation, and 50% of that came from KUIU. And so it was just like, and we funded everything, every single dime, nothing more, nothing less. And it's just a cool thing that it's our wing of conservation. There's a lot of ways to do conservation. That's how we choose to do it.
Awesome, man. I want to ask you about Canada. It's very rare since 2010 that you haven't gone to Canada hunting. And obviously with COVID and everything, Canada is still shut down. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they missed all of last late summer, let's call it, the Dall sheep type hunts. All of the other hunts, fishing trips, all of that has been on hold for obviously non-residents. The way it looks, you probably know more than me, but I'm hearing that it's still closed. What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, I've kept my ear to the ground pretty good on this one, and I'm getting daily updates from people that know, and I've dug in. I've talked to some people in Ministry of Tourism, and I'm fairly involved. I will say I'm slightly so right now it's been shut down basically from the end of March last year until, let's just call it today. If you're from the U.S., you're not going to Canada. It's been totally closed down. Canadians have to, they can come to the U.S. and they have to quarantine coming back. They've loosened that up a little bit, but at one point in time, it actually got more restrictive this winter, whereas you had to stay in basically a government-approved hotel and pay money, and they brought your meals and all. It's been, and again, I'm not judging. I was just it's been a tough thing for Canadians, but when it comes to the hunting side, it was completely shut down. They lost the entire 2020 season. And now we're in 2021. And as of right now, it's not open to be. I will say I'm slightly optimistic in that there is talks now. There is actually a semi plan in place. So I'm super optimistic. I guess hopefully
Are you
it'll be more of a
optimistic for the
turn.
July sheep season, or are you optimistic for potentially the fall, more of the fall months?
We're 6 weeks away from we're 5 weeks away from the NWT opener. I don't know about that. I'm not tied enough. Like, I'm hopeful. I know a lot of those outfitters. I just absolutely think they're some of the nicest people on the planet. I hope they come to their senses and let them do business. It's a tragedy what's going on. Their vaccination rate is very high. I'm probably diving into stuff that I'm not that qualified to say on, but I just know, like, they're just such great people up there. Those areas have just, there's not that many areas that are owned, and I know all the people that own the areas, and I know it's how it's affecting them. And it seems like it's an undue, it's just affecting them more than anybody else. It doesn't seem like they're super concerned about their well-being and how fast they're getting going.
Let me ask you a couple questions about that, Brendan. In the U.S., there was a bunch of PPP money. There was a bunch of different things where the government stepped in and actually was able to aid people in business where they could prove that their business was being affected by COVID. I'm asking a question that I do not know the answer to. The Canadian outfitters, did Canada step up as a government level and do any subsidies to these companies, or have these guys literally taken it on the chin? And are they, having a full season where, we're talking couple $100,000 to $1 million businesses where you go and have no revenue? Was anything done? Is anything being done? And what are the ramifications of all of that?
I wish I knew more on that side. And it's kind of like asking people, how are you doing? Is the government paying? Like, I mean, how much do you make a year? Like, I have not asked those questions. I don't believe it's been, let's just say I've been led to believe that it's not been enough, and nothing that they could do is going to make it right unless they open it up to allow these people to do business. I think just like restaurants, anything else, like PPP money or, subsidizing it, like that's all fine and dandy. And I don't know the details of that. So again, I don't want to comment on what I don't know, but it's not been enough. And in reality, they just need to get back to, like, these guys want to work. They love what they do. They want to work. They're in remote areas. Like, I think the testing has been proven where, you're not going to get like, again, my personal opinions are that they're really scared about nothing at this point in time, considering how everything's opened up. But I'm not a Canadian, so I just want to see these people be able to get back and make a living at what they're doing, especially on some of them. I don't know the details of how the ownership is laid out and all that stuff for them, but I can only imagine, like, these areas are not cheap. They're not cheap to operate. 2 seasons could potentially be devastating to some of them. I don't know which ones. Again, I just hope that it gets opened up. Even, I know they're available to take Canadians, but there's just not a lot of Canadians that are going to pay full price for something that they live that close to. I mean, there's a few, but in reality, like.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was another thing that I was thinking is, here you potentially have, I think of like Arctic Red, where I went for Doll Sheep, and, all the places around there that when I flew in, this outfitter's here and this outfitter's here. Think of those sheep that literally they potentially might not be hunted for 2 years. From a hunting perspective, talk a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about how these outfitters, once they do open up, how are they going to handle the people that were booked for 21, but the people that missed 20? Like, it's going to be a mess.
It's a mess, and they're all handling it different. There's several outfitters that just pushed everybody a year, and I don't know what they'll do if they push 2 years. Some have sent the money back and canceled people. And I've gotten call from guys that are like, hey, I'm booked in 23. I got pushed to 24 now. I'm 71. Can you help me get, and I've helped a few guys. They're like, I'm just not going to go. I'm going to try and go to Alaska. It's really put a lot of pressure on Alaska. They're all booked with everything, and
it's jacked the price up in Alaska, hasn't it? I mean, it has to because of supply and demand. It's doubled the price, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I've had lots of calls where guys like, hey, if it opens up and there's some good deals, I was like, hey guys, like I'm the king. I've been preaching, like, if you're ready and stuff, there's good deals and all this. Like, here's my prediction now. I don't think there's going to be a good deal on a sheep for 3 years. Like, I think supply and demand is so far out of whack. There's so many guys that have been pushed. I don't see any deals happening for quite a while. Like, I really don't. I think the price is set. The demand is so high. People just want to go, and people aren't canceling. Like, there's something about the fact that, like, when you're told you can't go, like for me, for example, like, I mean, I hunt Canada just about every year. The fact that I was not allowed to last year, like, I really am feeling restricted to the fact that, you know, you can't just go to Canada and go hunting. So it's just, there is no win in this thing. There's no easy answer, and obviously I'm not going to solve it, but I think just letting these people, you know, I hope that they can just get back to what they do best and what they want to do. Because it's not like, you know, you hear stuff like people like, oh, they don't, you know, here, you know, it's like nobody's going back to work because of the, you know, they're, you know, there's so much in unemployment and all that stuff. This is not the case. Every single one of these outfitters, they want to work. They want to go do what they do.
Love their job. They love
their job, you know.
What about the animals?
With the sheep thing, the sheep thing is pretty interesting because, number one, like, all those areas up there, like, they specialize in old rams. I mean, like, they're able to control, like, the difference between some Alaska areas and NWT and the Yukon and BC is that they are able to manage, like, because they're exclusive areas, they're able to manage their sheep. So, you know, like, for example, I've hunted a Bonnet Plume with Chris McKinnon a couple times. He's had the oldest age average in the Yukon multiple times in the last few years. I mean, it's over 11 years old. We usually can't save 11-year-old sheep. Like, 50% of rams die after 9 years old. So if you have 10 rams at 9, you have 5 at 10, you have 2 at 11, you know, 3 at 11 or whatever. And that's just kind of an overall rule of thumb. But, you know, there's not, like, they don't get to 15. Like, they just don't make it. So I believe that everybody will like, they're not going to take more than they can take. They're basically just lost a year. There's some old rams that are going to die. I think I don't know anybody up there that's going to overload their area. I just think that there's just going to be less opportunity, and the guys that are booked forward are going to move. And, you know, because I don't think all of a sudden they're going to start shooting 8-year-olds to get everybody filled out. That's not the style of people in the management that they have up there. They far more care about their area than they do about money. Every one of them that I know. So I just think it's just going to be, you know, it'll be great the first guys that get in there, for sure, to miss a year. Like, there's a lot of rams. So that's why I just hope it opens up this year. And you know, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. They actually have, I've been reading a bunch. They're talking about implementing a plan. So I like everybody. I just hope that they can implement a plan that works for, you know, people that want to feel safe and they feel like, you know, they can, you know, testing and all that stuff. Like, I mean, I totally understand that some people, you know, if they're in a health area where they don't want to be exposed to that, I totally get it. But I believe that there's hopefully they can get to a place where everybody feels safe and get back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hope that happens.
Yeah.
Switching gears here, I want to talk about some KUIU updates. I noticed I just ordered, I believe on Monday, last week, the Gila was announced, the Gila line, and I went ahead and ordered the Gila hoodie, long sleeve hoodie in every color. And I'm excited for it to get here. Talk about the Gila line.
Yeah, it's been in the works for quite a while. We were just searching for the right fabric, and it's basically a sun protection shirt. It's a little different than what we've put out before. It's you know, basically designed for very hot weather, sun protection. It's got a little more stretch. It's sized slightly up, I would say, and it's basically, you know, like something you'd wear in super hot conditions. It dries incredibly fast. It's just, you know, like a lot of fishing type stuff. It's similar to some of those, with our spin on it, but it's a sun protection, the Gila sun protection shirt. It's SPF protection and all that. Just really designed for those super hot days, when you're in the sun a lot. And again, I've got all the hooded ones now too. And it's a home run. I don't think they're going to last as long. I mean, we are selling far more than we anticipated. So if the sun protection shirt is something that you can see in your system, I would definitely order it sooner than later. I don't think they're going to last long. Because I've actually talked to a lot of people like, yeah, I ordered 5 of them. I ordered 3 of them. I ordered 5. I was like, ooh, yeah, that stuff doesn't last long. And again, it kind of comes back to COVID and all that stuff. Like the lead times on products we've done just like the team at KUIU has done an incredible job through the whole pandemic, everything. Like we've really, they've just worked so hard to position us in a place where we have a lot of product but you can only get so much in. So it's just a really cool piece. And I think you really like them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm really going to like the Gila hoodie for sure. That leads me to a question of, in your base layer, do you, in essence, wear a base layer anymore without a hoodie? It seems like I've gone to, if there's an option for a hoodie, it seems like I always check the box and want the product with the hoodie. I'm curious your thoughts, because you're fair skinned too, like I am.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't tan, I burn. So I generally like either in a mid layer or a base layer, I want a hood. So a lot of times if I'm wearing the 145 merino hoodie, which is, I actually hunt in that like more than I thought I would. That's kind of, I either use the 125T or the 145 merino hoodie is kind of what I've used a lot. And especially like animal hunting last year, super hot. It was really dry in Montana, and I got out a few days and I was wearing the 145 just to get the sun off me. And but I like, 2 hoods max, so whatever my system is, and then out to rain gear. But especially when it's hot out, I do like to have a hood, and these are great. I mean, this new piece is designed to wear next to skin. It dries extremely fast. Like, I mean, I went swimming in it a couple weeks ago. We were fishing and I fell in, and it's amazing how fast it dries, and that's what it's designed for. So yeah, I mean, it's a base layer.
Okay.
Next to skin.
Now I do have to ask a question. It's 92% polyester and it is 8% spandex. As a general rule of thumb, KUIU has not used spandex in their gear, but they are putting 8% in this particular product. My question would be, is that a matter of necessity? And because of the nature of this piece, the pitch has always been anti-spandex, but talk to me about the 8% spandex and the necessity to have that in this piece.
It needed the stretch. Like the application of this shirt needed that stretch, and we went through a ton of fabrics getting it right. And the nature of just like how you're going to wear it, how often you're going to wear it. It definitely it needed the stretch, and especially to dry out super quick. So it's a specific fabric that we went through a pile of different ones. It's when you get them, like you'll see our a 118 Peloton compared to this is definitely different, because it's a different application where you wear it and how it's going to fit. It's definitely a looser fit, and it's an outer protection piece that is also a base layer. So it needed it. And when you see it, I've worn them a ton. It's not like it gets funky any faster or anything like that, but it's it definitely needed the stretch. And again, anybody that, I can talk about it all day. When you wear one, you'll understand.
The UPS guy showed up here today, and I ran out over. Me and Poppy ran equally to the door, as she always does, and it turns out it wasn't the KUIU coming. But I'm excited because I have 5 or 6 of them coming, and I'm gonna initially fish in all of them, and then as I start elk season, that probably will be the shirt that I wear mostly. And I've been wearing the 145 Ultra Merino mainly because I like the fact of long sleeves. I like the fact of hoodie, and I like the fact that it's lightweight. I am surprised, and a question, the Peloton, they don't offer the Peloton in a hoodie option at all.
Because we had this coming. Okay. I mean, the reason is we've actually messed on it. It doesn't have the stretch to it. It's not the ideal fabric. We actually built it originally out of that, and it was a little bit restrictive for what we wanted this to be. And so the reason that we don't is because, and I think even on the questions we used to do, I think a couple times we got that question. of why don't you make that in a hoodie? It's like, well, because this is coming.
Right.
So like I feel like the application that it's going to be used for and what you need it for will be you'll be super happy with it. And like I agree with you on the 145. And the other thing I like is like there's not any shine on that merino piece either. It's very, very dead in the sun.
I love that.
So it's just which is really nice. It's very absorbs the sun instead of reflects it. So. And that was, even on this piece, what we were really, worked on is making it as low sheen as we could possibly make it, and making it to where it took the Verde, Vias, and Velo, just like it's just taken a long time to get it right, and we're super happy with how it came out. Like I love them. So
that's awesome. And it also makes me optimistic about the giant sombrero style, big giant hat that I keep asking for, that maybe someday that will come to fruition as well. So I keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, we got to keep stuff secret until it comes out. So you'll be the first to know.
I'm sure.
So, yeah.
I do have a question about warm weather gear. Now you have this Gila piece. You've got the Tiburon shirt with the dot air technology, and you've got the Peloton 118 and the 145 merino. Those are 4 great pieces of offerings from KUIU in that warm weather style.
And the 125 merino we have
correct,
also.
and with the 125 merino in that vein, if you will, really heavy towards those people that have those warm weather hunts. There's great offerings there. In your opinion, with this new Gila, for say antelope hunting in late summer, on the plains in the lower 48, some of the archery hunts, say in Arizona, some of the warm archery elk hunts, across the Southwest, what do you feel like you might lean towards more, or do you still feel like there's a certain application for each piece?
Well, we want to give you the options, and basically I think, for what you're talking about, because I used actually the Gila a bunch last year scouting goats, super high alpine up to 10,000 feet, really hot days, lots of bugs. Like it's really more protection than base layer. So I would look at that. Like if you're wearing, a mid layer and stuff, like the 118 or the 125 are a really nice base layer that goes under something that's your, kind of next to skin. But when you're looking for, protection, but super lightweight, I would say the 145 merino and the Gila are going to be comparable. And some people like merino and some people like synthetic, and you're now allowed, you now can have both. And again, I don't know this for a fact, but I mean, like I think the Gila has more sun protection, like true SPF, like
it's
true
50
blocking.
Plus.
Than merino does. Cause I think, so it's just a slightly different application, but those two pieces are kind of interchangeable. The Gila is going to dry faster. The Gila is going to give you a little more protection, and especially like I said, I used it a ton scouting for goat last year, and it was really hot, lots of bugs. The kind of weather where you don't want to wear a shirt, but you need to wear a shirt,
right?
If that makes sense. Like it's so damn hot, or there's bugs, or it's just like you're just getting burned to a crisp. It's lake, no t-shirt weather, but you're hiking, and it's got a looser fit and it dries super fast. So it's just one of those pieces where, I feel like those two are going to be the go-to as like, I guess it's base layer. It's like primary outerwear that you're not going to put anything over. It'd be the 145 and the Gila.
Right on. As I'm sitting here talking to you, my email is on my computer screen, and literally it just popped up, shipped order. It's got the order number and the tracking number, so it is on its way. So I'm pumped about that. Brendan,
hopefully the guard dog won't stop the UPS guy.
Yeah, she's so vicious at 7.5 pounds. Okay, looking forward here with the fall coming up, what kind of plans do you have? Do you have anything you're eyeballing this summer, late summer, fall, anything particular?
I am, I'm looking forward to, I didn't have any time to hunt elk in Montana last year at all. I just was, between moose, goat, and elk in Wyoming.
Which is kind of a first in a long, long time, right?
First in a long time. Yeah, right. It was, so I'm looking forward to, I got some good stuff scouted out. I'm really excited about elk hunting in Montana this year. And I don't like to have a ton of stuff like that's elk. I mean, that last year was kind of a rare occurrence. So elk, elk in Montana's coming. I've got, as of right now, I've got an option on a sheep hunt if Canada is open in the early August. I'm hoping that comes about. We'll see. If not, I'll just spend a lot more time scouting. I'm taking Lucas black bear hunting up in Alaska next week, which is going to be super fun. He's ready to go up and take his first black bear. So everybody invited us up. We're going to go up and do a little black bear hunt for a week. And yeah, kind of like everybody, playing it by ear. I haven't drawn anything yet. My Arizona application for sheep and deer are in, and I haven't drawn one yet, but we'll see. So I'm kind of like got the normal stuff planned and here, and then going to react to any luck that comes my way. But as far as that goes, that's the plan. Yeah, I mean, next spring I'm back into where I can hunt brown bear next spring, which I've got planned. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a long 4-year wait for that. And as of right now, that's about it. My little guy's getting kind of bigger in age, so a lot of stuff is geared towards taking him out, deer and all that stuff here. And that's kind of the plan. How about you? What do you got planned? Are you going to draw that Arizona Elk Tag this year, or are you just going to stack those points until you're the last guy in the max pool?
Yeah, I'll be the oldest, grayest guy still standing. I looked. I have 20 points for deer, and I have, I believe, 19 points for elk. And so this year with Arizona and the drought that it's in, I just went ahead and did a preference point for elk, so I did not draw. And then I'm going to wait. I'm hoping, I'm applying for, my application is in for sheep for Arizona, but I went ahead and went the preference point route, the bonus point route for deer, just figuring I was close enough to the max point that, with the drought, I wanted to wait till a year where there was a chance to kill a really good buck. But I do have a question going back to the brown bear. With all of the COVID stuff, what is Lance saying about the bear, Alaska and how the bear season went this year?
Well, Alaska, they were, they basically missed, spring of 20 they missed, and so they refigured there was.
Didn't they double up though and allow them to do 2 seasons or something?
That's normally every other year, spring, every other fall, like that, and so they did allow them to double up, but it's not going to make a difference. The same guys were hunting the same bears. I think Alaska is going to be just fine. I mean, that's obviously, I can tell anybody the number of hunts that are available in North America, because let's look at this too. Like, New Zealand is shut down. It's really a pain to travel anywhere internationally. Russia, Mongolia, I think Tajikistan is the only country that's open. Kyrgyzstan is going to open, but there's like the number of hunts that were canceled in last year internationally, like basically everything in the lower 48 and Alaska where travel's pretty reasonable is basically sold. Like, if you don't have a hunt sold right now, it must not be that good of a hunt. So just the demand is going to be through the roof on all that stuff. It's like, if you're thinking about hunting sheep in the next 5 years, you should get it booked now for down the road, because like I said, the number of guys that got bumped and the people that are like, wow, that kind of sucked in a whole year. I couldn't, I really wanted to do that. It was on my list. Now I'm actually going to do it. I believe the number of people booking hunts is higher right now, and everything in North America being, the United States, and in Mexico is just booked. So it's just a matter of like supply and demand. There's just so many people that want to go hunting, and just the economy is really good right now. Everybody's got a lot of money. A lot of people are working from home. They've got more free time. They've got, built up, there's a lot of people haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. There's a lot more vacation time built up. It's like, it's not one thing that's driving all this. It's a combination of everything. And, the market's through the roof. Like, there's a lot more money out there. Like, people are like, I'm going to use it for, and just having been restricted, I think people are just dying to go somewhere. So it's just like you and I talk all the time, Airbnb stuff and the real estate stuff and all. Like, it's not one thing. It's everything that's leading to, I think you were telling, obviously I've got one here in Montana and you've got yours a bunch in Arizona, but there's nothing to even be rented to live in. It's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just just dying to get out.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. Well, Brendan, it's been awesome chatting with you here. Look forward to the next Conservation Direct project. Look forward to these new Gila products coming here to my house. I'm actually down here in Idaho doing a little fishing near the Henry's Fork, and then I'll be headed to Colorado here in July, and look forward to get back to the Ot6 Ranch and get some cameras going and do some scouting.
How's the water looking
Really
down
good,
there?
really good.
Yeah,
Actually, we've got really good spring rains. And it's probably going to be the first year since we've been there in 2017 where we actually have really good green up, really good green feed, and so there's a handful of bulls that I'm excited to see if if they can really pour it on, and it will be a kind of a good test to see if because some of these Junes when I've showed up there, early Julys, just lack of moisture, summer rains and such, just not a lot of feed. I'll be curious to see if with what I think is going to happen, if they can really push forward with their antlers and see if we can have a really good season. So there's a handful of bulls that should be really good, so we'll see what happens there. But it's always great having you on the podcast, and always great talking to you, buddy.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. Like I said, with just circling back on the conservation thing, like as soon as we can announce where to sign up, participation both financially and as a participation as far as showing up in person or donating labor, all that stuff, like we will announce it first on the Jay Scott podcast, because I'm not trying to be deceptive or anything. It's just I will want to make sure everything's going to go before we announce it, because I just like not being able to get working and having people plan stuff. We're just going to bypass all that until it's a green light 100%, and then we'll announce it. But we'll definitely let everybody know on you first.
And the thing that's cool too, anybody out there listening, I mean, Brendan, you can hear the passion in his voice, and nothing against any other conservation organization, but Brendan has made it abundantly clear that he wants to take that money and put it absolutely directly into a project, just like what they did with the guzzler, just like what they did with the transplant. So if you want to see your dollars go straight into something that wildlife is benefiting from, definitely check out Conservation Direct, check out the website. And Brendan, it's always great having you on the podcast. I look forward to chatting at you down the road here. Other than that, man, God bless. Okay.
Yeah. Have a good one. Thanks again, Jay. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Bye.